Myself a while. Shine that light on me. I'll sit and tell you my stories. Shine on me, and I will find a song. I will sing it just for you.
Hello, everybody. This is episode 10, and with me today I have Isiah Shrubs, and we're going to be just kind of going down and talk about some good old pro wrestling and have some fun with this, man. So, Isiah, thanks for coming. So, man, how are you?
Yeah, man, I'm doing good. I'm happy someone from Amarillo is recognizing what I'm doing, dude. It's
I know,
about
man.
time.
Gotta represent what you're doing, man. I kind of like what you've been doing, man. I never would have thought that, because we went to high school together. I don't know if many people know that, but
Yeah.
you never would have thought you would be a pro wrestler, man. What made you get into that?
Dude, so I mean, just like everyone, um, you get into pro wrestling when you're a kid, and I kind of grew out of it when I got to high school. Uh, it it kind of just got, I kind of let everyone be like, "Oh, dude, it's fake," and it's all that. And so I never really thought much of it. But one of my good friends, I know you probably know him, but Brett Hardigree.
Yeah.
Um, I guess he's been watching wrestling like the whole time, and he kept bringing it up like some like subtle things. So, yeah, he got me back into it, and I, for whatever reason, started getting recommendations in my YouTube for like a channel called Botchamania.
Yeah.
Botchamania, I started getting them, and then there was this clip by these wrestlers, ACH and Kenny Omega. They did this like Rock and Stone Cold spot at a place called PWG. And I saw that and I was like, yo, that is dope. And so
Yeah.
it led me on to keep looking for wrestling. And it got to the point to where I was like, I need to go to a wrestling school. And there is a wrestling school in Amarillo. It's Top of Texas Pro Wrestling.
Hmm.
But I kept doing research and I saw the school in Austin, America's Academy of Pro Wrestling. And I was like, I need and I want to do that. So I moved myself out to do basically just to do pro wrestling in all honesty. And now I'm doing it. So yeah.
So that's pretty sweet. So you're out in Austin right now wrestling?
Yeah, I wrestle in Austin, but I live in San Marcos. So San Marcos is way more affordable than Austin right now. But yeah, there's a bunch of good schools around here, man. We got a hybrid in San Antonio, and I'm in
Yeah.
San Marcos, so it's kind of like equal distance in between. But yeah, I moved out here solely for pro wrestling.
That's pretty sweet, man. So, uh, what was it like, I kind of like hearing these kind of interesting like stories about like
Yeah.
people getting into wrestling and everything like that. Cause I grew up a wrestling fan. I got into amateur wrestling cause I was a pro wrestling fan. So,
Wow.
uh,
Okay.
yeah, but like I never had the courage either to get into the wrestling ring, but, so I kind of like hearing these stories. So I kind of want to hear yours if you're willing to share it. What was it like kind of taking your first bump and getting the training, and what was it like? Cause I always hear like when people take their first bump, it's like kind of foggy and all stars and stuff like that. So what was it like hitting the mat for the first time?
Dude, so I guess I got lucky. So it started off with me going to the school. It cost quite a penny to start wrestling. So I found out the price and I asked the promoter, the guy that owned the school, Ray Papadon Campos. Uh, I was like, I don't got the money right now, but like, can I do something to get into the school to help and like I'll pay my dues and all that. And so he put me in production. So I want to say from June, July, August, September, for about 4 months, I just did production while I watched people practice and do shows. And I always heard the bumps. So when it came time, I was like, yeah, like I'm ready to do it. And so it, I played football. You know that.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like football probably prepared me for like the super big impact hit. And
Hmm.
so when I hit, I didn't feel anything, in all honesty. I was more, if anything, I got more addicted to doing it, to wanting to fall over and hit the mat as hard as I can. I'm super addicted to it. So it wasn't really all that bad for me.
Yeah. So you said you did production, like you did the production to get started into it.
Yeah. So I, um, I went in for my like interview, whatever you want to call it, to talk to, the main man, Papa Don. And I was like, I don't got money. And he was like, well, do you like production? And I'm like, yeah, dude, like I've always wanted to work with cameras. I just haven't had the chance to. And audio, I love podcasts. So I was like, dude, I'll do whatever. And so the guys that were working production, Keanu and Jay Mazing, they took me on and Am I allowed to curse? Am I allowed to curse
Yeah,
on this?
go right ahead,
Yeah.
man. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
So when they brought me in, they were like, "Yo, honestly, like we're just gonna make you do bitch work." And I was like, "Shit, all right, cool. Like it's whatever." So I was like putting up wires in the ceiling, or crawling underneath the ring, or crawling up in the rafters, and just doing stupid stuff, or sweeping and all that. So I I helped with camera work, and then we started our production, the Buckle Bomb, for our school. So yeah, that's how I got started.
That's pretty sweet, man. So they kind of made you do some of the grunt work, and eventually you started cutting and got your own podcast out of it.
Yeah, honestly, dude, when I first came into the school, I pushed for the podcast so hard, but they were like, "Nah, like we don't think anyone's gonna listen. We don't know if anyone's gonna like it or not." And I was just shooting ideas just to get something going, because if I'm gonna be at the school and I'm gonna be doing craft work, I want to make fun out of it somehow. So yeah, it was just a bunch of grunt work until uh Jay Mazing, he he has his degree in like audio technology.
Oh,
And he was
sweet.
like, yo, I got a mixer and I got some mics, so we could really do it if Pops is really cool with that. And so Pops finally caved in, and so we've been doing it for, I want to say, almost, I think in 2 more months it'll be a year.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah,
So I think podcasting for me, like personally, I can only speak for myself, but for me, I just recently got into podcasting just a month or two ago. So it's
yeah,
something I think that's really fun. It's something I've been thinking of doing for the longest time. I just like one of those things. I just gonna quit thinking about it, just do it, kind of thing. And
yeah. It is one of those things, man. Podcasting is it's a lot harder than what people think it is, in all honesty. Because because everyone nowadays is like, I can do a podcast, it's just talking. But then, like, if you want to have like a good podcast with like sustenance, something people want to listen to, you got to have like some type of guideline or some kind of steps to go by. I mean, but if you're a good free talker, then you can do that way. But
Yeah.
it's a lot different than what people think it is.
It is, man. It's really different than what I'm a communications major, and getting into this, I didn't want to be the person like, oh, I know everything about podcasting. I don't. I know some. I have a radio background, so that's where
Okay.
the podcasting kind of comes from.
Yeah,
So it's more like having to like putting radio and a little bit of journalism together, and that's where my experience comes from. And just hopefully suit for the best. But um, how would you describe your podcast? Like, if you were to tell like anybody who comes across it, how would you describe it?
yeah, man. It started off with just being a pure like wrestling podcast for the students at our school, or people who graduated from our school. It's still that at heart. But we used to only strictly talk about wrestling. Right now, we're trying to kind of work out of that. We want to be a little bit more freeform. We just want to talk to people like they're humans. We tried doing a kayfabe podcast one time, and it was maybe the worst thing that I've ever produced in my entire life. It was just 15 minutes of just awkwardness. But yeah, man.
Or
To make a long story short, my podcast, The Buckle Bomb, it's just a wrestling podcast. If you like wrestling, then you're gonna you're gonna like it.
so of course, I grew up a wrestling fan. You did. Bret Hart agreed grew up a wrestling fan.
Yeah.
So the quote unquote, I guess, I hear that the word kayfabe thrown around for the people who are kind of fighting. Is this how would you describe, I guess, you're the pro wrestler here, how would you describe kayfabe to people who are listening to this, like, who don't know anything about pro wrestling at all? How would you describe kayfabe if you want to? You don't have to answer if you don't want to, but how would you describe
No,
it?
I'll describe it because most people, to
Because
to
most people
most
don't.
people, kayfabe is dead. Is
Yeah.
is like the thing that goes around. Kayfabe is basically keeping up the illusion of what we're doing is real. You want to look at it through, these people are real and these situations are real.
Yeah.
That's all kayfabe is. It's like keeping up the illusion, keeping up with the story like it's a real thing. Make it short.
Yeah. So I remember always hearing the word kayfabe, and like as a little kid, like, what is kayfabe mean? I do not know what anything is. What do you mean it's all fake? Everything's real, man.
Dude,
Can't
yeah,
let
it took me
can't
a
really
while
choke
to
slam
figure out
people,
what
man.
that was. It
Sorry,
took
go
me
ahead.
a long time, dude.
Yeah, it's kind of at this point in the age where social media and internet, and feels like the barn, the what's it called, the horse already left the barn.
Yeah,
Feels like people already know what's kind of going on. They just want to watch the storyline just to see what's going on.
yeah. I mean, dude, we live in the age of information, so everyone knows well, for the most part, everyone knows what's real and what's not.
Yeah,
When it comes to like performances like that, like it's pretty common sense now that it's like, okay, that dude really didn't get run over by a lawnmower, or he didn't get like, yeah. But you
yeah,
know, it's for entertainment, so
for sure.
let's keep it entertainment wise.
So before we get to like kind of sidetracked about your podcast, but like where can people find it? Like where can people listen to it? I mean, if they want to
Yeah,
listen to it.
it's on YouTube right now. We're trying to get it on other podcast apps. We're exploring the options, but yeah, it's on the YouTube channel AAPW. Uh, yeah, AAPW. We have two channels. There's AAPW, I think Texas, and there's one where it's just AAPW and it has like a fire background.
Okay.
And yeah, we try to post weekly. We just moved to live versions of it, where we actually have a camera filming.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just go find
How's
it on
that going?
YouTube. We saw
How,
what?
how's the live going? Live
It's
version.
good, dude. It's been a little bit weird because, before it was just audio only, so we were just chilling in our crap clothes. We didn't have to look nice, and now I have to make an effort. So it's cool though, man. It's cool though to see like actual reactions and see like that connection that we always make when we always talk. So yeah.
That's pretty sweet, man. It's always cool to have that connection, I think, with, especially what you do with being a professional wrestler and having that connection with the fans, it's always been pretty cool. I mean, back in my day, I always had that connection with some of my favorite wrestlers growing up to watch, I wish they had TV, but I wish they had like that alternative platform to have that connection with, the extra, I guess, something.
Yeah, that connection really matters too, dude. Like, I think most people, I'm not an old head by any means. Trust me. Like, I love doing cool stuff in the ring, flips and dives and all that. But I think most people that come into wrestling nowadays, they forget about that connection. They just want to do a cool move or do a cool sequence. And it's like, that's cool. They're like, it's cool, but like, how is the fan watching at home or the fan here in the arena? How are they going to connect with that? And how are they going to see you after that? It's like, it's a whole thing. It's a bunch of stuff, and I'm still learning it. I'm still learning. So yeah, the connection thing is a real big thing.
Yeah, man. So I kind of want to dive into this a little bit. So what, kind of talking about it a little bit, talking about like what people like talking about fans and anything like that, having a connection, anything like that. But like, what do you think having that connection with like the wrestler and mixer, what the fans are watching is entertaining and stuff like that. What do you think makes a great wrestler? Like, what do you think overall? Like, is it their mic skills? Is it their wrestling? Is it a combination of both? What do you think it is,
Um,
in your
phew,
opinion?
you definitely, in my opinion, you definitely have to have some. You have to have a personality. There's no way that you're just getting along by just being a really good wrestler. You look at guys like Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels is one of the best of all time in the ring, but he knows how to connect to people. Like whenever he comes in through his entrance, he has his personality. He acts like a playboy, this kid who's energetic and he's riled up, but he's cool and suave at the same time. You look at the Miz now. He's not the best in the ring, but he can talk on the mic and he can pull people in that way. Daniel Bryan is probably the perfect example right now. That dude is the perfect combination of both. He can draw you in his promos. He knows how to talk. He knows how to talk to you on a human level and get you emotionally invested. But when he's in the ring, he's the god of pro wrestling. Like that dude can do anything you ask him to. So as lame as the answer as it is, I'd say it's a combination of both. Like you have to be you have to be an average at not an average, but you know what I'm saying. Like you have to be understanding of every single aspect of wrestling. You
For
can't
sure.
leave any of it out.
No, not at all. I remember growing up, even from time to time, I'll tune into Monday Night Raw and watch that, or Friday Night SmackDown, or time to time even AEW and stuff like that, and watch what's going on and trying to keep in tune with who's possibly the best and everything like that, whether it's on the mic or even in the ring or anything like that. So it felt like for me, it felt like I'm going to be entertained either one way or another, kind of. So growing up, I remember being, gosh, when I was a little kid, early 2000s, I hated Edge. Like I hated his mic. I hated him. And when
Yeah.
Stone Cold turned heel, those are my two favorite biggest heels ever watching. I guess there's a lot of great heels. Don't get me wrong, but those two on the mic and like you said in the ring, those two I think were the best I think to ever do it as a combination of both. Even said Daniel Bryan currently, back when he was even on the indie scene as Bryan Danielson, he even was top tier even then, I believe.
He was, heels, honestly, I don't know if you were gonna ask this question or not, but dude, heels have like the hardest job in pro wrestling, in my opinion. Cause right now I'm currently babyface everywhere I go.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, all that is like go in, smile, be happy, be energetic, get beat up for a little bit, come back. That's all you gotta do. For heels, they gotta come out and they have to make people care to hate them. When they get in, they have to make the babyface look good. They have to take control of the match most of the time. It's, dude, heels have it hard, man.
Yeah,
But it's fun. It's fun when you get it.
it is. I can only imagine what it's like to have everybody hate you. It's like I can only imagine it's a pain sometimes just to make the whole room hate you. I think there's only a select few who get the entire like arena or what auditorium, whatever, to absolutely have you in the palm of their hands and hate you. You know?
Yeah, we got this dude named Greenback who is universally hated everywhere he goes in Texas. Like, we did a storyline where we had an invader, because he's a manager. Greenback is a manager.
Mm-hmm.
We had another manager called Nastico, who's really big on the Texas indie circuit right now. And he came in and he was supposed to be the big bad guy. Like, he was taking down people. He was hitting people with kendo sticks and
Oh,
chairs.
wow.
And we tried to do a manager versus manager, and we tried to make Greenback the babyface. And dude got booed out of the building. Like, no matter, like, there is nothing he can do. But like, he takes solace in that though, because he knows as long as people hate him, he's doing his job and he's doing it right. So it's an ebb and flow, because it'd be cool. It's cool to get cheered and have people want to come up and take pictures with you after the show. Like, it's super dope being a babyface in that sense. But heels, they they get the love from the people who understand what's going on.
For sure, man. Do you personally? I mean, do you personally have a preference in what you want to be? Do you think you would be a great heel, or would you rather stick out babyface? Is there any preference, or are you like, I'm here to do my thing and work on my craft, or how does that work for you? How do you feel?
Yeah, dude. Um, when I came in to wrestling, when I first started training, I wanted to be a heel. Because to me, dude, heels are so cool. Like, they get to go do whatever they want to. They can go talk crap to fans. They can go flip people off. They beat up the wrestlers. So I love being babyface right now. Because, you get everyone cheers you. Everyone's clapping for you. Everyone wants to see you win. You get people coming up to you after the shows asking about t-shirts, wanting to take photos. And you get to do, I feel like heel or baby faces get to do way cooler moves because you want people to stand up and cheer for you. But like I said, dude, heels are like they get to do like the dark and gritty stuff. They get to be mean to everyone. Like they can just be an asshole just to be an asshole, and that you can just it's part of your character. So, dude, honestly, I'd be down for either one. In all honesty, I kind of can't wait to turn heel if I get to, if I ever get the chance.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet, man. Kind of waiting for that storyline, that perfect storyline, just to
I'm
turn your
waiting,
heel.
dog. I'm waiting.
So kind of speaking about storylines, I guess since we're on the topic, do you have any favorite storylines that stick out to you off the top of your head? Like oh man, I was so like interested in this. Like I wanted to watch it from beginning to end. Like I didn't want it to stop.
So you mean TV storylines like
Yeah,
WWE,
the AEW, TNA.
AEW, all that? Yeah. Ooh man, that's a good one. I'd say
Where,
whenever
where,
AEW, after Kenny and the Moxley saga was over, and it was kind of
uh,
Kenny and Hangman trying to find their way because they were both losing, and they had their differences, but they could come together. When they were
true.
tag team champs, it was probably like, dude, because with my schedule now, I'm always gone. I'm out of the house on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and some Saturdays. And AEW was coming on Wednesdays consistently, and who knows if they'll go back to that. But at the time, I was always gone. But I'd make it my mission to find a way to watch AEW because that storyline, it was so awesome.
Yeah.
And then the whole CM Punk saga, everyone will
Oh
say
yeah.
that. Everyone loves CM Punk. But the earliest one I can really remember, and the one that really grabbed me first, was it was Cena and Edge and DX and the Spirit Squad. As much as people don't
Yeah.
like that version of DX, I loved it with passion. But yeah, those those were definitely the ones that stood out though.
Yeah, man, I'm kind of happy you brought up some of those. And those are all great storylines. I remember, man, I think just Kenny Omega, dude, he's like one of those people that stick out all the time. Even what he did in New Japan, even back then, all the stuff he's did back then, and coming over here back to the States, and he's killing it in AEW, I believe, right now with everything he's doing.
Absolutely. That dude, God, I mean, like I told you in the beginning, he's part of the reason why like I got back into pro wrestling. Seeing that it could be, dude, he's so athletic, like it is unreal. It is insane. And then yeah, just watching him do like goofy stuff. I don't know if you've seen his stuff in DDT, but that dude's goofy. Like he
Yeah,
wrestled like a girl. He wrestled with a doll. He did like an anywhere championship match where
yeah,
pinfall anywhere where he was like wrestling in the woods in a river and like on this dirt mountain. Like dude is insane.
yeah. He's one of the phenomenal guys for sure. Um, even like back, even so, I was fortunate enough. I was born in '97, so I
Hmm.
was kind of late to the obviously born in the WWF, WCW rivalry kind of going on, the ratings war and all that,
Yeah,
if you remember all that. So I was kind of, I didn't get the whole lot of that. So I was kind of early in the early 2000s with
same.
like that kind of stuff going on with a
Ruthless
kind of
aggression.
ruthless aggression
Yeah.
era and all that stuff going on. So I grew up that and I kind of quit for a little bit and I came back in with DX versus Spirit
Oh
Squad.
wow.
And so
Wow.
that's,
Okay.
and John Cena and Edge, that's when I came back into wrestling and kind of, came back full back in, And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, it is so much fun. I remember DX whenever they were telling everybody to suck it and do all this and everything like that. And my brother and I, he's probably gonna kill me for saying this, but him and I would tell each other that all the time at the house, like, hey, suck, like, all the
Yeah,
time,
dude.
like, doing the chop and everything. We did everything together, like wrestling moves on each other. We did everything.
Dude, that era of wrestling got me in a lot of trouble, dude. Like, because my favorite superstar of all time is Jeff Hardy. He's part of the reason why I like to flip and dive, my wrestling shows. But they used to have a bunch of table spots, and so our mom, we were not rich by any means. So whenever we got a present from my mom, that was a big deal.
Yeah.
And she ended up getting us this Spider-Man table to put in our room, and we had bunk beds. So me and my little brothers, we just took turns like throwing each other off the bunk bed into the table. And it got to the point to where we suplexed each other off the table or off the bunk bed onto the table, and it snapped in half.
Oh
And we ended
wow.
up having to hide it. And our mom didn't find out until we were like 15, until I was like 15. Because that happened when we were children. I got in trouble at school for doing the suck it all the time. Sent,
Funny.
sent to the office. Kids wanted to fight me because I'd say suck it and I'd run away. Dude, that era of wrestling got me in a lot of trouble, dog.
It did, man, for sure. And you're kind of like, sounds like you're doing a lot of like your ECW, CZW kind of stuff back then. So that
You said,
like was that kind of extreme hardcore wrestling always a part? Like, did you ever also get into that kind of stuff, or was it more just WWE style of wrestling?
it was always WWE. ECW I only knew of because WWE, the whole One Night Stand pay-per-view with RVD
Sure.
winning a big, and then their second one. Um,
What a crazy night that was for RVD though.
dude, that was like I watch that back every once in a while
Me too.
just for the pure just like fan interaction. And those matches on those cards were insane too. People forget that. Because the biggest one is always RVD and John Cena, but dude, like every match on those, I can only remember two of the ECW One Night Stands. I think there was only two, maybe, or maybe there was more than that. But yeah, dude, that whole atmosphere was insane, especially when RVD won it.
It was. I remember, like you said, fan interaction kind of coming back around to it. It's like one of those things that pay-per-view ECW One Night Stand was one of those crazy, like, that's what it's like, I think, to be in a wrestling crowd, I believe. Because it
Dude,
feels like, I remember that sign, if Cena wins, we riot, and
yeah,
just how diehard fans were back then for RVD. It's not just for RVD, but just for everybody back then, for the original diehard ECW guys.
that original brand, dude, they were diehard for it. And yeah, speaking on to your point about the fans like that, I started wrestling when COVID came, so I kind of came in when there was like no fans. The only big event I've ever gone to was well, I take that back. The only big events I've gone to were New Japan when they came and did the G1 in Dallas, and then when AEW came to Cedar Park. And yeah, dude, when it's packed and those crowds are hot, it is amazing. I haven't really gotten the chance to get that yet. I had it a little bit these past few weeks since, everything's opening back up. I've been getting booked outside of Austin, and the crowds have been they've been bigger than what, I've been used to. And it just gets louder and louder. And dude, like, yeah, when you're in it, when you're in the ring or you're in the back and you're hearing the fans go like wild, it gives you like a whole other type of energy or persona. It's amazing.
Yeah, I can only imagine too. I mean, you brought up you started when COVID was here. So
Yeah.
can you talk like what was it like when like wrestling with no fans and hearing your music hit with fans in the crowd? Like, was it like adrenaline for you? Like, because I've heard people like, oh, it's adrenaline rush when you walk through the curtains and you hear fans cheering. So was it like that for you? Or how would you describe your experience walking out for the first fans?
Dude, so sheesh, that's crazy to even think back on. So yeah, when I first debuted in January 16th, I believe. So things were still kind of like, a little touchy. Um, the first show, actually, I'll take it back. The first show I ever went to at AAPW, my school, uh, there was there was a real bad COVID outbreak. Everyone was wearing masks and everything. And so Papa Don, he decided not to let any fans in. He was like, we're going to do a show. We're just going to film it, but no fans. So we had to put like our own students out in the crowd, and we had to space them out to look like there was a decent amount of people.
Yeah.
And it was so weird because it's like, God, like, yeah, I've grown up. Everyone's grown up like seeing fans, at any wrestling event, and just like hearing maybe only like 12 people in the crowd. It's wild. It's wild as all hell. And then my music hit January 16th. That's when I debuted. The crowds were a little bit better. There's maybe about, I want to say like 10 people in the crowd.
Nice.
But, people are still yelling regardless.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like you get the adrenaline rush when you hear people making a reaction. That's where it at least comes from for me. I think as long as I hear someone make some type of noise for anything that I do, then I always feel that adrenaline.
Oh, nice. So, what was it like when you finally came out that first time? Like, was it like after your first match, you said during 16, what was that experience like? Can you like talk me through it? Kind of like, what was your day or your time walking out? Like, what was it like for you?
So, mine was a little bit different than most. So the storyline I was a camera guy for this guy, Zach Taylor, who's one of the best in Texas for like the last like 10 years. The dude is a god of pro wrestling in Texas. I was his cameraman for since like October. So from October to January, I'd come out to his matches and I'd film him. He did like a social media gimmick. And so they told me I was going to debut on a show while I was his cameraman. So I'd be in the ring filming him, and he'd be like, oh, I don't have anyone to wrestle. Like, I need someone to wrestle. And then Pops pointed at me, and he was like, you can wrestle your camera guy. And I knew what the line was going to be. So as he was talking and I was holding the camera in the corner, I was so nervous. Like, my whole body was tingling, and I couldn't focus on anyone in the crowd. So I was just standing there filming, and I was just waiting for him to say the line and to point at me. And in Call of Duty, when you get like flashbanged, everything turns white and it's ringing in your ears. That's literally what happened to me. I couldn't see anyone outside of the view of where I was looking, and everything was ringing.
Yeah.
And then he was like, all right, like, yeah, like I'm all wrestle my cameraman. And so I had to put the camera down. I had to undress and had tights underneath. I had to go put on my shoes. Dude, like, God, what an entrance. The show after that, I finally had music, and I got to come out, and it's a little bit weird because you don't want to be, pro wrestler number one, where you come out and you're like, come on guys, come on, let's go. The crappy regular stuff that everyone says. So I came out super self-conscious about like what I said and like how I looked. So it was a little bit awkward, but I'm not going to say I have it down now, but I feel a lot more comfortable than when I did when I first started.
For sure, man. All you need is that little, experience and that confidence to help build up for sure.
It goes on, dude. That experience and confidence goes a long way in wrestling. If I had as much confidence as I do now than I did back then, and I say that with it's only been like 6 months, 5 months, but like it's grown exponentially. It's insane.
For sure, man. I've seen like some of your clips. Like you feel like you're getting better, man. Like I feel like I've seen your clip, like highlights and stuff like that. Your style, by the way, I was gonna bring this up, but
Yeah.
why not bring it up now? So your style of wrestling is like so entertaining because it
Thank you.
reminds me a lot of, even now, it reminds me a little bit of Eddie Guerrero. It reminds me of we had a little bit of technical difficulties. I'm sorry, never happened before in the 10 episodes that we've been in, but
As soon as I get compliments, everything breaks. It's just like real life.
I know, man,
Bull crap.
everything. So, thanks for everybody who still stuck in, and even though this is post-recorded, welcome to the world of technology, guys.
Yeah.
So as we were kind of talking about earlier, you, your style is kind of unique and very different. Like I said, it's very, like you said, Shawn Michaels-esque. It's
Yeah.
Sami Zayn, Eddie, and all those guys rolled into one. So how did you discover your style, and how would you describe it in your own words?
First of all, you're very complimentary because getting comparisons to those guys is insane. But in terms of moveset, yeah. So uh, one of my head trainers there, Zach Taylor, the dude's been wrestling for 10 years, and for whatever reason, he hasn't gotten his due yet. He hasn't gotten his just due. But he kind of led me on like what I want to do. So I came in wanting to do like super video game kind of stuff, like a video game term is like a high, mid, and low. And so one of my first moves I ever did was like throwing a jumping roundhouse kick, trying to kick to the chest. They blocked that, and then I do a leg sweep. But yeah, man, I don't know. I just pull stuff from guys I like, and I try to make it my own. My favorite move is kind of like a Kenny Omega kind of thing, where someone throws a line at you, you duck it, and what Kenny would do is he'd duck it and he'd circle, 180 right back around, or I guess 360 right back around, and he'd come off and hit whatever. But I kind of molded it into my own. So now if someone, tries to throw a line at me, I hook them and I run. I do my little run around and I come up for a running drop kick, which is insane. And also it's crazy how I'm trying to talk about myself and there's a lawnmower outside. But
Good, man.
what's it called? I lost my train of thought. But yeah, so that running drop kick, I haven't really seen anyone do a running drop kick. And yeah, so after my first show, not to name drop. Well, I guess I am name dropping here. Ricky Starks, AEW guy,
Yeah.
he trained at AAPW, and he
Oh,
would
wow.
come out to the shows, pretty frequently. And he saw my first match against Zach, and he saw my running drop kick, and he came up, and he obviously he had critiques for it, but he came up
Yeah.
and he was like, he stopped and he looked at me and he grabbed my leg and he was like, "That running drop kick you do, keep doing it. I don't see anyone else do that." And I was like,
That's pretty sweet.
"Yes."
Heck yeah, dude. That's pretty sweet.
It is sweet. And then ACH, him as well. He came to a few of our shows like in a row, and Jay Lethal to keep name dropping. They all like my running drop kick, so I'm gonna keep that. Yeah, man, my spinning heel kick. That's kind of a Chris Jericho kind of thing. He did something like that. I love doing the swanton, and I miss it a lot, but it's a super cool move that I've been doing since I was a kid. Uh, Suplexes. Yeah, dude, I really do a lot now that I think about it. I kind of
Yeah.
just do stuff.
So this is something I kind of remember you. If you want to talk about it, it's all cool with me. We can move on. But I remember you kind of talking about a finisher and stuff like that. So have you kind of discovered like a finisher? Because it feels like when people see the Stone Cold Stunner, they know that's the end game. That if they see the Sweet Chin music, that's it.
Yeah.
Have you? What is your? Do you have one yet, or if so,
Yeah, I
what's
do.
in the
So
process?
I'm super unprofessional because I've never posted me doing my finisher. I'm actually gonna do that now that you just brought that up. I should probably post that. But so I'm a super big King of Fighters fan. Terry Bogard and Rock Howard, if no one knows who they are. But what I do is I do a double underhook like fisherman. So I get them
Yeah.
kind of like how Dirty Deeds is, how John Moxley
Yeah.
does his. So
Yeah,
I
for
grab
sure.
them like that, but then I pick them up in the air. I grab their, what is that? Yeah, right arm. I flip them over and I do it into like a twisting neck breaker. And I call
Oh,
that the star dunk. It's dope. It's really cool. I get a lot of compliments on it. That was also helped. Yeah, it's also helped by Zach Taylor. He helped me come up with that too. Because I was originally going to do one where I pick them up fishermen, put them on my shoulder, and I would do a spinning one. down to the ground. That's called a Stormbreaker by Will Ospreay.
Oh yeah.
Will Ospreay is also a big influence on what I do. People are gonna hate that. Old heads are gonna hate that. But
Keep
yeah,
it unique.
it's a butterfly spinning neck breaker. I call it the Star Dunk to keep going with my space theme, my Danny O'Ryan theme.
Oh yeah. People out there who Isaiah goes by Daniel Ryan, like you said, but what I like about it too, like your wrestling name, you call yourself the Star Boy. Is that any homage to The Weeknd or anything like that, or because I know he has an album, so is that anything that has to do with The Weeknd at all? How'd you come up with the name, like the
Dude, so
whole
actually,
nickname?
yeah, dude, when I came up with it, it was on a podcast. I still wasn't debuting yet. It was on the Buckle Bomb. I was interviewing girl Jasmine Allure from our
Yeah.
school. She's on AAW right now too. She got to wrestle Thunder Rosa on TV a few weeks ago. I was interviewing her, and my friend Jay, he calls himself Jay Amazing, so he has his own tag. So I was like, I need a tag, and so yeah. So the weekend,
Yeah.
the weekend, I love the weekend. And fun fact, when I was still in Amarillo and I was going to college, I was majoring in STEM,
Oh yeah.
and that was to get me into astrophysics because that's what I wanted to do in the beginning. And I have a bunch of astrology books. I would grab them, but I'm super lazy. I'm in casual clothes right now. I don't want to stand
Okay,
up.
man.
But I got a bunch of astrology books, astronomy books. So the whole Starboy thing is one, because I love the weekend, and two, because, it fits with, everything I love, which is space and everything outside. So
That's pretty sweet, dude. I never would have thought that because I mean, where you got the name, I just first thought The Weeknd. I'm like, oh, that's a sweet thing, but you bring it up about space, dude. There was I have two astrophysics books that I love reading on my off time. So
yeah,
I'm not a space person by any means. I'm not super sciencey, but I just like in my free time, like I have like two astrophysics books I just like to read sometimes. I don't know why, because space is so interesting to me sometimes. But there's been times where I'm like, hey, I would think of a move because I wrestled in high school, obviously. I think I thought of this move. Maybe Isaiah would like it.
yeah.
I sell him and then name him something cool that I learned. Like, no, that's probably too far. He's a professional. I'm an amateur wrestler.
No, bro, hey, that's how you get better, dude. You take critiques, you take advice, you take ideas from people who want to give them to you, and you mold into your own, dude. I'd be down.
Yeah,
I get told that all the time by people. They want me to do something, and I'll just be like, yeah, I'll try it.
yeah, I don't know. It's just pretty funny. But you kind of brought up Zach Taylor a little bit. Kind of want to talk about him if you want to, because
Yeah.
you had a feud with him a little bit. You had a storyline with him,
Yes.
and what I like, because I did a little researching, and
Okay.
what I like about it too is that like you cut this promo on him that I thought was super cool, talking about
Thank you.
the social media title
Yeah.
hanging from the rafters in a ladder match. So I thought that, man, that was so super dope that how you cut that promo on him and everything like that. So how did you come? One, how'd you come up with that promo? Two, how'd you prepare for the ladder match?
Oh boy. So, dude, in all honesty, that was all just off the cuff. They were just like,
Oh yeah,
well, one, I've been wanting to cut a promo with the social media championship ever since I won it, and I don't know, I just didn't have the time to do it. I was so focused on, I'm still that way, where I'm just so focused on training. Like as soon as I get to the school, I'm training from like 4:45 to like midnight whenever I get there. But they were like, yo, like we need a promo, like you got a big match coming up, like just come back to our green room and let's cut something real quick. And they were like, do you want to prepare something? Like, would you just want to go in? And I was like, I'll just go in. And I think
yeah,
it took me about 3 takes because I said a bunch of stupid things, like I was saying a bunch of bad words that I'm not supposed to say. So yeah, that took me about 3 takes for that promo, which you can tell because I appreciate you being nice, but it's not a good promo by any means. I'm a student, so I'll take it now. But
yeah.
um, so yeah, that one was just off the cuff. And dude, that ladder match, I think it's a cool story, so I'll pull back the curtain just a little bit.
Mhm.
Uh, he was, for whatever reason, he wasn't at the school as much. He was doing his own thing. He was working more. Uh, he was just off doing his own thing, so he wasn't at the school as much.
Mhm.
And a ladder match is a pretty big deal. There's a bunch of things that can go wrong, but I
Yeah.
trust Zach Taylor so much. Dude is a legend. I can't say it enough. So show day came, and he was like, "Hey, what do you want to do?" And I was like, "Dude, I don't know." Like, I'll take a ladder to the face. I'll take some chair shots. Like, what do you want?
Yeah.
He was like, I don't know. We'll just work it out when we get out there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that whole match was off the cuff. Everything we didn't plan. No, there was maybe, yeah, I don't think we really planned anything. We kind of just went in and just did our thing.
Oh, really? Do you think that kind of helps you in the long run, or do you think that just you like when you go out there and have fun, or is it just
Yes.
fun?
1,000,000 times yes. I had a match with the guy, Michael Arrow,
Yeah.
he's super cool too. The dude's a workhorse. Him and I are kind of like, we're the same but different at the same time. You know, both stamina super high. We can both go for a while. He's more in like the catch as can kind of wrestling style, and I'm more, you know, I'd say more indie style. But we're both super fast. We both move super fast. And so we knew that, so we tried to call out our whole match, and it did not go to plan. It was bad. It was not good. And then, the next week we had an off week, but I got booked in a show to work against a guy called Savage King.
Hmm.
And he's been doing this for about 20 years. So I went in calling our match. I was like, oh, we need to do this, and this. And I tried calling out everything, and he stopped me, and he was like, how long you been doing this, man? And I was like, maybe just like 3 months. And he was like, okay, here's what we're gonna do. And he called maybe the beginning and the end, and everything else in between. We just had fun.
Yeah.
And ever since then, because it was a good match, and ever since then, I I've been of the mindset of, you know, just go out there and have fun. You know, my friend, well, I guess my rival, kayfabe, my rival, Ollie Summers, in real life, he's one of my best friends.
Yeah.
And he's more of like a technical kind of wrestler, so he probably likes calling out a bunch more things. But, you know, when it was time for us to have our match together, he was trying to call everything. And I was like, look, like, let's just keep it simple. We'll call the stuff, you know, that's really, really important. But everything else in between, we're just gonna have fun. And we ended up doing that. And then the majority of people that watched it, even some of the workers there, they were like, yo, like that was for your guys' you know, talent level, like that was super, super good. And that kind of just reaffirmed my thinking on wrestling of it's just, you know, make sure you get the important stuff across, but have fun while you're doing it. And everything else in between, just have fun.
That's pretty dope, man. That's pretty cool that you said that because I've heard a lot of people. I heard stories, obviously, from like CM Punk telling about how he's caught how matches and stuff like that. Different people, but CM Punk comes to mind first. How he's like, oh yeah, I can go into a ring right now and with like Rey Mysterio or something like that, and like they don't have to call anything. They're just so natural together. It's just you meet some people like that, or just like even Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels maybe esque, you know, who people
Yes.
get to go into the ring who flow so naturally together. Just that duo or whatever that just flow naturally. You know, it's just there's no rhyme or reason for it. It's just you can go in there and just have a great match. You know.
Yeah. It's, I think it's in part, one, you need to know your body, and two, you need to know the other guy's body. And three, you need to understand what wrestling is. You need to understand that, you know, it's entertainment first and foremost, but two, you want to tell a story. So as long as you understand those things, then I think you could go into a match with anybody. And if you can take control, then you're good to go.
Yeah. Are you still the I don't know what you put on or on point, but are you still the social media champ at all or no?
No, I'm not. Social Ollie Summers, the cheap
Always
little
them.
bastard, took it from me.
Um,
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while since I've been social media. I think it's been sheesh. I have a match notebook. I think it's all the way over there. I think it's been like a month and a half or 2 months almost that I haven't had it, but I've been having cool matches with other people, so I'm fine with it.
that's pretty sweet, man. Do you have any was that your first title, right? Your first title.
Yeah. I was actually in AAPW. I think I'm one of the fastest people to ever train and debut to grab a title. I think I'm one of the fastest people to ever do that.
Congrats, dude.
So yeah, I held it for a good little bit, and you know, last week I was in a tournament, a tag team tournament. We had two matches in one day, so that kind of hurt. Well, I had three matches in 2 days, so that my body kind of hates me for that right now. But yeah, man, went after the tag team titles. Who knows? I might still go for it. We'll see.
Yeah. That's pretty dumb, man. Like how does a tag team tournament work? Like I know it works, like you see it, but like as a pro wrestler, like is it like what is it like for you? Like the experience in a tag team tournament for you? Like well, how was that for you?
Dude. So, you know, I've been a singles wrestler this whole time. So for me, I feel like now I can go in and just work. I don't need to talk to anybody as long as I understand what that guy wants to do and he understands what I want to do. We can just go in and be fine. But this is the first time I've ever done a tag team tournament. So
Yeah.
we had 2 matches and we only had about like, in actuality, maybe 3 minutes to understand what we wanted to do in the match. It was stress. It was stressful, dude. It's definitely a learning experience for me. Yeah, we had the people we lost to, they ended up having 3 matches in that one night. And that last match, they didn't have any time to call anything. And they just went out there and worked. And congrats to them because that's tough stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, it was different because you're working with 3 more bodies other than one.
Yeah.
So you guys all have to be on the same page. It was insane, but it was fun though.
That's crazy. That's pretty cool though. But I was gonna ask you something. So for you, in your opinion, do you believe the title makes the wrestler, or does the wrestler make the title?
Um, I think it goes both ways. I think more the title or the person makes the title. I think that is definitely the better way to put it. But I think for me it was the social media championship meant a lot to me.
Yeah.
Uh, well, I don't know because before that I went on a losing streak after I lost to Zach, my first ever match. I went on a little bit of a losing streak and people started to feel bad for me. And then I won the title and it was like an even bigger thing. But then you get people like, The Miz.
Yeah.
Before him, the Intercontinental title wasn't really seen as much, but then he got it and everyone was like, okay, like now it's worth something to go for. When John Cena got the US title and he started doing the open challenge, it was
Yeah.
like, yo, now this is the title to go for. Um, so in that sense, I'd say it's more the person makes the title, but in some rare instances, the title can help make a person as well.
For sure. And it's just crazy. I didn't really think about it until you just brought it up. How the Miz kind of brought the IC title to what it is, like the relevant, or how much it means now. Because back in like long decades ago, the IC title was pretty much like the second title before the world title. It was known as like you're about to be the major
That's the
strap.
guy.
You're about to be the man's.
Yeah.
A lot of the greats have held the IC title and went on to be the champ.
Mhm.
Like world champ. And just so it's just crazy how far I think even the Miz has come since back in the
Dude.
days of MTV to being the annoying guy in the locker room to what he is now, multi-time, like 2-time, 3-time WWE champion, and no, Lord knows how many times he won the IC title and US title.
Dude,
It's
yeah,
crazy
that
how
dude,
out there
that dude
like that.
makes that dude makes titles, man. Like he gets the character aspect, and
Mhm.
so in that sense, the character matters a lot. He gets it, dude. The Miz just gets it.
Yeah, for sure. How'd you find your character? I know you kind of talked about your name and everything, but how'd you find your character? Kind of
Oh
since
man.
like,
So when I originally went to the school, I wanted to do a type of angel gimmick. I really love Kid Icarus, and my name starts with the I, so I wanted to do something Icarus like,
yeah,
where it's like I wanted the character to be like I get so close to doing so good, but I always fail somehow.
yeah,
But for whatever reason, Pops didn't like it. So I was like, well, I like space stuff. I could do some space thing, call myself the Star Boy. And he was like, okay, I like that. Like we can bounce off of that. And so we just started workshopping the name. Eventually came to Danny O'Ryan. And when it was time for me to debut, he told me, he was like, I want you to go on a losing streak. And I was like, oh God, like I'm gonna be a comedy act.
yeah,
But I played it. I guess I'm good at playing like a puppy dog eyes kind of guy. So every time I'd get beat up, I'd have puppy dog eyes or I'd get sympathy from people in the crowd. And so my character was like an underdog at the time, where it's like, man, he's just so close to always winning, but something always happens. And when I finally beat Zach, I kind of came into my own where it was like, now I'm this kid, I'm the star boy, because, I'm a boy amongst all the stars of pro wrestling. And so now I'm always fighting upwards to get to where I want to be. And I'm kind of like I don't want to say a cocky underdog, but it's something like a flamboyant underdog. So now, like, I'm an underdog, but when I finally get up there, I'm showing off what I can really do. So now I'm
for sure.
flamboyant. Now I'm doing a bunch of cool stuff. So it took a while for me to get my character. It took a few weeks, a month or two, but now I think I'm starting to hone it a little bit. I'm starting to get way better at it. But yeah, that's what it took to get me there.
That's pretty sweet, man. I kind of kind of respect that too. It's pretty cool how you kind of discovered that too. So I remember even hearing, I think the Undertaker on a podcast he was on Joe Rogan
Mhm.
a while back, and he was talking about how he found his character, kind of, he's him starting out in Texas, and
Yeah.
Vince called and was like, "Hey, is this the Undertaker?" And Undertaker was like, I think his name is Mark. Mark's like,
Mark
yeah.
Hello.
He's like, the Undertaker. I
Yeah.
like the Undertaker. He goes, yeah, that's me. That's how he got his
Yeah.
name. He kind of honed it onto what he is now. He kind of started like this old timey kind of Undertaker until made it the guy that's everybody's afraid of and respects at the same time.
Yeah, man. When it comes to finding a character like that, I think it needs to take a little bit of who you actually are to make it work, because then you can connect to it more. Or
Sure.
you can go the complete opposite way. If you want to be something that you're not, then you just tell people, like, let's say you hate, for whatever reason, let's say you hate like Russia for some reason. You hate Russia. If you want to portray that character, you make people see why you hate Russians to make them hate it.
Yeah,
So it's kind of like, you have to be super over exaggerated in some type of sense to get your character over.
sure, man. Obviously, I want to ask you this question. Do you think this wrestling that you're doing, obviously you're killing it, and right now the AAPW,
Mhm.
do you think wrestling ultimately was your calling?
It feels that way, man. It feels that way right now. I absolutely love it. I don't get to flaunt my ego all that much. I stay pretty grounded, but people flaunt it for me. When I first started wrestling, I was told by a bunch of people in wrestling that, like, dude, like, you look like you're like a natural, like you're born to do this. And then my mom, who doesn't watch wrestling at all, she finally started to watch me, and she was like you're really really good at this. Like, you should really. Now she's pushing for me to keep doing it.
Oh, that's sweet.
And yeah, man, because I was at Tascosa High School with you guys, and I was a shorter kid then, and I was skinnier, and but I thought football and sports was like my calling. I never got that chance, and it stuck. I'm not gonna lie, like, it stuck with me for a little bit. I never got to show how good I really thought I was. I was told by players on our team and other teams, when I would do flag football or when I'd get the chance to go in, they'd be like, "Yeah, dude, you're good. You just need to get taller," and that always stuck with me. So
Yeah.
now that I have something that I think that's my calling, and people are saying that it might be my calling, like, I really want to stick it to everyone and be like, yeah, like, I am good at this, and I'm going to show you why.
Yeah, for
That's kind
sure.
of a long-winded answer to what you said, but
That's all
yeah,
good,
man,
man.
it's deep.
Okay, man. Hey, I kind of was like, I always thought you were a great football player. Even I was in the same boat a little bit in high school in wrestling. My freshman and sophomore year, I was in JV, and every time we went to tournaments, I was a heavyweight wrestler all through high school. I wrestled, and people always came up to me like, "Hey, what?" Because in wrestling, high school wrestling, I'm not going to tonic period, it's different, but high school wrestling, it's like here's a heavyweight, it's the very top, obviously, because you're the heaviest guy on the team,
Yeah.
and then right underneath that's 220 weight class, and then 195. And then people always thought I was like I had like a different schools like I'm just throwing name dropping schools. It's, for example, like Amarillo High or Dumas or PD. All these people come to me like, oh, so are you the 220 guy or 195 guy? I'm like, no, I'm the heavyweight. They're like, oh, you're small for heavyweight. You're
Yeah.
short. Even though I was like 5'7", 5'8", 235, 240, I was
Mhm.
small. I was like, man, you're small for heavyweight. So like, you know what? I don't like. I may be small for my weight class, but I don't know. I got bigger throughout I was like, oh, I need to get bigger. I need to get bigger somehow. So
Yeah.
the summer going into junior year or my junior year, I got bigger. I, I got to 275, and then
Sheesh.
I know. And then I made varsity, and I dropped all this. I started doing way more cardio on for varsity, so I got down to 235 again. So like, what's
Dude.
the point of getting all
God.
that big? So
Yeah,
I was like,
man.
otherwise I was in the same boat. Like, oh man, I was always considered short and small too. And I
Dude,
was the size I am now.
it fueled me, man. I'm not gonna say who said it. There was a coach my senior year who told me that I was gonna get a lot of playing time. He was impressed with how I was during the summer. I came to every single workout. I went to flag football tournaments. I was killing it in flag football tournaments for Tascosa. I was killing it. I was not supposed to be doing flag football tournaments for like grown men for the city, and I was playing against like Amarillo Venom, and I was killing it against
Wow.
them. I was killing it against everybody, and my coach saw that. And he told me before the season started, he was like, "Yo, like, you're, expect to get some playing time. Like, we're gonna use you this year." And when the season came, I didn't get any playing time. And I found out that during track season that year, he told my little brother, he saw my little brother at a track meet, and he was like, "Hey, like you're Shrubs' brother, right?" Because everyone used to call me
Yeah.
Shrubs. He was like, "Hey, you're Shrubs' brother, right?" My little brother was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Hey, your brother was good, but if he'd have been taller, we would have used him a lot more." My little brother told me that, and a few of my friends told me that, and I was like, "Dude, like that's really all it took. It was for me to be like an extra few inches." So now, I'm not letting anything stand in my way. I don't care how tall I am, how short I am, how skinny I am, how heavy I am, all that. I'm gonna prove to people that skill matters.
For sure, dude. That's always a great competitive drive to fire because I always respect that too, man. You've ultimately, I think, the underdog story. I mean, you're killing it now. I
Mhm.
believe you're doing what you should be doing. You're killing everything. You're proving everybody wrong, I think. But yeah, that's pretty cool how you're doing all this right now, dude. You're a professional wrestler, dude. You're a social
Yeah.
media champion and all that. Like,
Yeah, it's dope, man. I'm finally getting my name out there. I have people sticking their necks out for me. One Prince Adam, who's super big on the indies right now. He
yeah.
just got to wrestle a Warhorse, dude. Just to bring it to Prince Adam too, because he's been a big help to me.
Hmm.
He's a smaller guy. He's like 5'3" or 5'4", and he's on the indies right now, and he's killing it. Last week, I think he had like 4 matches in like 2 days,
Oh
which
wow.
is insane. But he stuck his neck out for me. That show where I wrestled Ollie Summers, he
Mhm.
posted on his Facebook where he knows a bunch of people, a bunch of big
Yeah.
names, and he posted on his Facebook and he was like, he pointed at me and Ollie and he was like, yeah, these guys are gonna like help lead the next generation of Texas wrestlers, which means so much.
That's pretty sweet, dude.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot. It's insane. But I don't know why I went off on that tangent. I just love me some Prince Adam. That dude's dope.
So good. Yeah, it's so cool. Um, so if you were to go back and just kind of describe your favorite, and actually, like, if you would like WWF or WWE or TNA, AEW, what would you say your favorite time period in pro wrestling it was?
Whew. Um, Dude, that's hard. I could say WWE when, yeah, when Cena and Edge were feuding,
Oh
and
yeah.
right before Edge retired, I was really in love with it at that point. But like, dude, now,
Mhm.
oh man, that's hard. 2016, when I wasn't watching WWE and I was just watching a bunch of indie stuff, that was pretty good. Speaking of that, I got a bunch of PWG DVDs right here. 2016 Battle of Los Angeles right here.
That's
All
pretty
those
sweet.
things. Yeah. That was a good time.
Yeah.
But maybe when AEW came 2019, I was consuming I was consuming every type of like wrestling media you can think of. Even now, God, dude, that's hard. If I had to put an answer on it to give you a straight answer, it'd probably be 2019. Because then I was watching NXT, WWE, AEW, TNA. I was going online. I was following New Japan, all that. So I'd say 2019.
Yeah, man, 2019 was like a great year
Good
for
year.
wrestling fans, especially because they had so many outlets and everything to watch. They had, like you said, NXT. They had this new company called AEW and everything like this. They had so many things going on.
Ring of Honor
But
was dope at that time too, because they were
it
they were
was.
scrambling to find people, so it like forced people to get better. It was awesome.
It's just crazy, even how long, like, how great Ring of Honor is, and how many great wrestlers it's produced over the years, too. And even like, let me ask you this, since we're kind of talking about wrestlers and kind of like that. Who would you say your Mount Rushmore is of wrestlers?
Whew. It's gonna be different than most. I'd say Jeff Hardy, number one. This is my Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
If I did like wrestling Mount Rushmore, it'd be way different. But my Mount Rushmore is Jeff Hardy, Chris Jericho. Uh, I'll put Kenny Omega.
Great pick.
Ooh, let me think. Let me think. This last one is very important. Shawn Michaels. We'll do Shawn Michaels as
Oh
well.
yeah, you always gotta
Yeah.
put someone up there somehow.
Hmm.
Growing up, I was always a big Shawn Michaels fan. I was lucky enough to see him wrestle a couple times in person.
Yeah.
I was lucky enough to even watch the first WrestleMania match with him and Undertaker at WrestleMania
Oh,
25.
yep. Classic. Absolutely
No,
classic. I never
I
got
was
to see him wrestle.
do you what?
I never got to see him wrestle live. Never
Oh
got to.
really? Yeah,
Hmm.
I was fortunate to watch WrestleMania 25 in Houston,
Hmm.
like
Dude.
in 2009. And I was like, I had to see him wrestle against. I was like, if there's any match I have to see in person, it's got to be that one for sure. And I didn't know
That's
how.
considered the greatest of all time, dude. You got super lucky with that.
I did. I didn't know. Of course, nobody knows in retrospect what that one match would produce another match the next year with Saw and Undertaker. Next year after that, it was Undertaker and Triple H,
Triple
and after
H.
that, it's another Triple H and Undertaker. It's just so crazy that you got 4 great WrestleMania matches back to back to back. It's like one of those rare occurrences in baseball where a great baseball player hits 4 home runs in one game. It's like oh, he's got 1 home run. Okay, that's cool. He gets
Yeah.
another home run.
It's
Okay,
like, oh, he's on
he's going
summer now.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
it's all like back to back. It's like one of those things. I was lucky enough to be there for the first match, and to describe that experience in person, it was like something I'm gonna probably never be a part of again. It was pretty cool.
I
But
had I had something similar like that. It wasn't to the extent of Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels, but when I went to the G1 in Dallas,
yeah,
I got to see this match like inspired me to get into pro wrestling. In all honesty, like it pushed me over the edge to do it.
mhm.
Will Ospreay versus Lance Archer.
Oh yeah,
That match is insane. One, because it was really good, and two, because it like revived Lance Archer's career. And so I got to see something like that. Now you're seeing Lance Archer on AEW competing for championships and killing people, and Will Ospreay, what he's doing in New Japan. Like that was his first like foray into the heavyweight division. So I got to
mhm.
see all that happen, and I got to see Okada versus Tanahashi, which is always good.
Oh
But
really?
oh yeah, they wrestled at that G1. It was insane.
That's pretty
But
cool, man.
yeah, live experiences are dope, man.
They're pretty different. I think after this COVID thing, we're gonna see a lot of great interactions with fans. I think because people are just missing that itch for something.
Yeah, and
I
the
believe.
indies are blowing up right now too, with a bunch of the WWE guys getting released and doing their own thing on the indies. AEW is working with everyone. It seems like Impact is working with everyone. New Japan looks like they're probably going to start opening up to more people. PWG is coming back. It's a good time to be a wrestling fan, man.
It is for sure. I even heard, like, speaking about venues opening up, I even heard Tony Khan, the owner of AEW, him talking about they're going to New York soon, like
Yeah,
when like it's like soon, super soon. I'm like, that's pretty big news because think about it. Then like New York, when I think of New York for wrestling, I
it's
think of
Vince.
WWE. It's Vince's
Yeah,
territory. That's his place. And for Tony Khan to be like, okay, we're going to New York and we're going to take the roof off whatever arena they go to.
yeah,
That's pretty big, I think, in my
it's
book. I think
insane, and they'll probably do it too. AEW, like whenever they get live fans, like it is insane. They sell out like all the damn time. So I wouldn't be surprised if it happens.
it is for sure, man. Oh, we kind of talked about speaking about like arenas and stuff like they're not arenas, but we talked about Shawn Michaels a little bit, so I kind of want to go back a couple paragraphs if that's cool with you.
Yeah.
We're talking about Shawn Michaels. I feel like as a friend and kind of as a professional wrestler, I kind of want to get your take on it. So we're probably going to explain this a little bit for people kind of going into it, but I
Okay.
honestly want to get your take on it. I know he's a goat. He's one of my goats too, Shawn Michaels. But the Montreal Screwjob, do you think it was a work or no?
um, During that time of wrestling, when WCW was, starting to come up and they were doing their own thing, um, I don't think it was a work because you hear backstage stories about it all the
Yeah.
time, and he clocked Vince McMahon.
Mhm.
He spit. I don't know how many people can do that, like spit on someone with that much power, and like
Yeah.
it's insane. I think it was shoot. I think it was real. There's
I
no
have
way
that
that
feeling
was
too.
work. That was too perfect.
I think it was. I think it was kind of a suit. So people who okay, so let me back up a little bit. The people listening, like, oh, what's a Montreal Screwjob? What's going on? What's this? What's that? For like the non-wrestling fans, if you're a non-wrestling fan, you're probably not
You
watching
probably
this.
have no
But
idea. Yeah.
for people who stuck around, the Montreal Screwjob is kind of like an event that happened years and years ago, back in '97, I believe, at Survivor Series at this wrestling WWE back then WWF pay-per-view,
Hmm.
where champion Bret Hart was in his hometown or home country of Canada.
Yep.
Didn't want to drop the title to Son because Bret was on his way to WCW, the
Uh,
rival company of WWF at the time,
yep.
and they want to drop the title. He's like, oh, I don't want to lose it in my home country, but I'll lose it. I'll give it up to Vince tomorrow,
Yep.
the month at Raw, on their own channel, their own home show.
Hmm.
And the home Vince like backstage politicking. He's like, you know what? I'm going to take it off you either way if you like it or not in real life. And
Yeah.
that's created the Montreal Screwjob. And yeah,
It made
Brett.
sense. It makes sense during that time period, man, because everyone was super hard nosed, everyone was stubborn, no one wanted to do what the other guy wanted to do. It was all about themselves. So when it came to that, can you imagine like Roman Reigns now telling Vince, he'd be like, "Nah, I'm not dropping the title here. I'm gonna wait until like next month." Like that does not happen
No,
because the culture has changed. But that's what the culture was back then. Like
it
dudes
was.
just kind of went into business for themselves. So it was definitely 100%. It was a shoot. There's no way
I
that they worked that.
I think it was too. So people who probably don't know what wrestling like terms what we're using.
Oh, yeah, my bad.
You're
Yeah.
gonna no, no, no. Excuse me. I said it's my fault. I said this before. Suit. You can use pseudo. You can use lingo. I understand what you're talking about, but for the people who don't understand, suit
Yeah.
means real and work means kind of fake. Obviously, I don't know if I can
Yeah,
say people like
kayfabe.
hurt too much,
Work is
but
kayfabe. Work is kayfabe.
kayfabe. Yeah. So, yeah, there was a crazy event that happened and stuff went around and everything. It's just crazy event, you know. But
You will not see it nowadays because no one would let that happen anymore.
no, it's like Bret Hart. You know, Bret Hart's dad was Stu Hart, a great wrestling promoter, teacher, this that. And it's like going to Bret or it's like going to Stu Hart. It's like, you know what? I don't want to drop the title. It's like, what do you think Stu or Vince would have done? They would have like stretched you right then and there, you know?
You would have been another wrestling term, stretch.
Yeah.
Good old stretch. Yeah, dude. There's no way that was a work. They would not have. There's no way they could have pulled that off, and you can't even pull that off. Well, I mean, you probably could pull that off now, but the way they did it, there's no way that would get by today.
No. Another kind of thing I think we've kind of come close to that's kind of a work or shoot. I think was kind of I mean, it was planned for sure, but I don't know if nobody knew what he was going to say was CM Punk's infamous
That's a pipe
pipe
bomb.
bomb.
Yeah.
And people, I believe, really took to that, you know, really easily, or took to that like a duck took to water. Like, oh my God, is he going to leave? What's going to happen? They didn't really, that created like a thing of hysteria. People didn't know what was going on.
I remember when that happened because I was still watching WWE. I was watching regular, I was a regular viewer at that point. And watching CM Punk come up, I liked CM Punk,
Yeah.
because he had that whole feud with Jeff Hardy and Undertaker for a little bit, and so I had already known of him, but he kept gaining more and more traction, and so whenever he finally took to the stage and cut that pipe bomb on WWE, it was so weird. Like at that point, what was I? I think I was in middle school or like maybe just high school. I couldn't tell if it was real or not. I
Yeah,
really
me
couldn't.
too.
And I think that's what drew people in because that created kind of like a mini boom for WWE where people were tuning in to see, what was going to happen. They messed it up though by letting him come back like 2 weeks or a week later,
Yeah,
which was stupid, but
it kind of was.
that's the moment.
I think this timing of it was kind of what did it. But I think even watching it then, I was semi out, but I was semi out of wrestling, but semi like I would tune in just to watch the big name guys if anything was big going on. But I wasn't tuning in every week. But if I
Yeah,
heard something going on, but when I heard I was lucky enough to watch the pipe bomb live because I was kind of flipping through
yeah.
channels and I was like, what's CM Punk doing out there? Because I always thought that it's not a side at Punk anyways, but I thought he was kind of like a mid Carter somewhat.
He was seen as that at that time. He had the heavyweight championship, and people liked it, but it was kind of more of a niche group that
Yeah,
liked it. So whenever he started to insert himself in the bigger programs, everyone was like, "What? Like, what's going on?"
yeah. People really didn't know. Like he won. He was a world champion. People did not know what to do with him creatively. Like they did not know like
He was a
is he
different type of beast, dude.
yeah. He's like so after he lost it, he did this pipe bomb. Like what? Well, first of all, it caught me off guard. It was why is CM Punk wearing a Stone Cold shirt for?
Yeah.
I didn't know what. I mean, I don't know. He could have just been like it was
So,
pretty cool, but
yeah, the story behind that was he didn't have any his own shirts on hand, and so he just went to wardrobe and he was like, "Do you guys got any like large size shirts?" And they're like, "Here you go." And so he just took the Stone Cold shirt and that was it.
oh really?
Yeah,
It's kind of funny. But when he cut that pipe bomb, man, I was like one of those things. I think one of those things that pieces of art that's kind of like not lost, I would say lost, but it's kind of like once you find it, it's like, oh, there it is. Like one of those moments, like, oh my
you can
God,
tell it
is this
happens.
real? Is this real? Yeah, is this real? Is this really what's going on? Because you should over remember it when they cut his mic off. He was going to talk about Vince, the
Yeah,
whole "Be a Star" bully campaign, and he didn't get they cut it off right then and there.
right in there. Yup.
And then when he came back, he brought out a little like mega horn, or whatever you call it,
Yeah,
you know, to talk to people. I was like, man, like I just want to kind of start getting back into wrestling a little bit more to watch that angle because I
yeah,
felt
it made
like
it cool again, dude.
yeah, sorry, I was like that, like real lifestyle. Even kind of dates back to when Scott Hall and Razor Ramon, or the same person,
NWO.
New World Order, Scott Hall and Kevin Nash left WWE and went to WCW, people were like, "What are these WWF guys doing here? They need a what, are they invading us?" Like,
Yeah,
no, they're signed here. Like, and then everything came to what it is as the
it
NWO.
made it cool, dude. That's when wrestling is when it's best, is when people just look at it for what it is and they have fun with it. Like those moments like that, like it draws people in and people were just having fun with it. In the moment, you couldn't question if it was real or fake. Whatever. I hate using fake in wrestling, but
Me too.
you can tell like what it was, and people just took it for what it was, entertainment, and that's when wrestling's cool again.
Yeah, sure. Man, where can people? Okay, if you want to answer this, you can, because I don't know like how far I can go with stretch this, but where can people like keep along? Like how can they follow you? Can they follow you on Insta, social media? Like
Oh yeah,
you have Starboy account, so how can they
yeah,
find? How can they keep along with the residential Starboy?
yes sir, the residential star boy. Yeah, I'm on Twitter. I'm on Twitter and Instagram. I don't want to give out my Facebook all that much
Pretty
because
good,
I need to make a Danny O'Ryan Facebook.
sure.
But yeah, dude, Twitter I got Danny X O'Ryan. That's on Twitter. I think on Instagram I think it's real Danny O'Ryan. And yeah, dude, I'm always posting. Like I'm posting every week, trying to make
Awesome.
it weekly, trying to keep up the interaction. But yeah, follow me there. You can find me on the shows, AAPW, YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, we're everywhere.
I meant to ask you this earlier. If I did, I'm sorry. How'd you come up with the name Danny O'Ryan? Like, you came up with the name Starboy, but how'd you come up with
Yeah.
the name Danny O'Ryan?
So Danny O'Ryan, so like I said earlier, you know, I'm a big fan of King of Fighters. So
Yeah,
Terry Bogard and Rock Howard. So at first I wanted to be Terry. One of my
yeah.
first names to be Terry. They didn't like that. So then I went with Rock, but they're like, well, the Rock Johnson. So you're not going to do that because people are just going to make comparisons to that. And so I just started thinking about things from my childhood, and I really loved Danny Phantom. I love Danny
Yeah.
Phantom so much. So I was like, okay, Danny, and they're like, okay, like we can roll with Danny. And then we just started thinking of just like something space type. So I think I went with Danny Nova first, and we were set on that for like a good week or two. And then we found out that there's a bunch of people in the indie scene with Nova. And I wanted to do Nova because one of my favorite comic book characters is Nova. And
Oh yeah.
he goes by Danny. Fun fact, he goes by Danny in the Ultimate Spider-Man comic show, so that helped. And I love Iron Fist, and his name is Danny Rand. So
Pretty cool.
Danny name keeps coming up. But then yeah, we just started. I pulled out my astronomy book, and I was just looking at constellations with Pops. And
Yeah,
Pops was like, "How does Orion sound?" And I was like, "Yeah, like that fits. That sounds good."
that's
So
pretty
yeah,
cool.
Danny Orion. It was just a bunch of people helping out, and my love of space.
That's pretty cool, man. So I think we're starting to wrap up a little bit. I got a couple more questions, if that's cool
Yeah.
with you before we wrap up.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know if you know, but like, do you know what's possibly next for Danny O'Ryan, the wrestler?
Ooh, I don't know if I can reveal too much. So
Say what you can if you want it. You don't have to. You don't answer it when I do this.
I'll say what I can. Because
What?
I'll keep it vague because I have to kind of keep it vague.
Yeah,
So recently I got asked to do a reality TV show, so I got to audition for that.
that's pretty
Um,
cool.
I got cast to be in a TV show that's been going on for a while here in Austin. So I'll be filming in that next week. In terms of wrestling,
Yeah.
you know, I'm still a student at AAPW, so I'm not supposed to be working outside of the promotion unless he's cool with it. But I've been asked by a few promotions already to come perform. So I think I'll graduate in September or maybe earlier if he likes me enough to do it, if he'll let me do it. So as soon as I graduate, dude, I'm gonna be going, you know, well, really anywhere. I know Texas for sure, but you know, maybe Arkansas, Louisiana, hopefully Cali and up north, Chicago, Philly, all those places. Um, yeah, I'm gonna be everywhere, man. I'm gonna be everywhere.
That's pretty cool, man. That's pretty
Yeah.
cool. I think you got a lot of good stuff going on. So,
That's what we'll do for you, man. Wrestling's been so good to me.
oh, that's sweet. So, kind of last question, last but not least. I always ask this at the end of my podcast. So, to all my guests. So, is there anything you like to maybe add or say, or have any special shout outs you like to get to anybody or anyone?
Yeah, dude, shout out to Amarillo for making me super hard nosed. As much as I always bagged on Amarillo when I lived there, and I still bag on it a little bit. But if I didn't have the experiences I had with, high school, I moved to Amarillo when I was in middle school, and I kind of had to learn to, be tough and not be a little baby about everything. And then high school, I got to meet a bunch of diverse people, people I wouldn't have met if I went to the other high school, if you know what I'm talking about.
Sure, yeah.
Um, I met all my best friends there, Brett,
Hmm.
Austin, Evan, Jubal, Marcus. So yeah, if I had to add anything, it's, show love to where you come from, rep them wherever you go, but make your own path. And that's why I'm here in San Marcos, making my own path.
And you are, man. You're making your own path in a big way, dude. It's kind of cool that you're doing everything, man. So I'm kind of happy for you.
Dude, thank you. I appreciate it, man. As long as I put on for Amarillo, not a lot of people know about Amarillo, so whatever I can do to help, I'm there for it.
For sure, man. Well, thank you for coming on the show, Isaiah, and thank you everybody listening out there. So,
Sir.
I'm gonna call you Danny. I'm sorry about Isaiah.
That's cool. Hey,
Uh,
man.
Isaiah.
I'm
So
Daniel
thank you.
Ryan. I'm Isiah Shrubs. It's all cool.
Oh, Isaiah, thank you for everything, man. So hope you have a good day, and thanks for everybody. I hope you have a great weekend.
Peace.
Peace.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Hey, did you like watching that last episode of What Really Happened? If so, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more content on this channel.